Welcome to Patrick's Scale Studio. My name's Patrick. I'll be your host. Well, we've gotten the whole red applied. This lovely whole red color there. It gets darker toward the base or toward the very bottom. The next step on this is going to be putting in this black line right there. I believe it's commonly referred to as the bootstrap. So we're going to put that in here. So in order to do so, I needed to get this onto its base so that it is perfectly, what's the word I'm looking for? So it's sitting perfectly level as it would be painted. All right, so it is perfectly level now. The next step on that then is going to be marking off the waterline. This is what I use as a waterline marker. It is my own personal creation, just using some angled aluminum screws and a pencil. Sharpen that up nicely, and it's made so that it'll just slide along and lightly put a pencil line where I need to mark it. So the question there then is, how do you know where you're going to be marking that waterline? And kind of going off of the instructions here, looking right there, and it looks like it's about toward the bottom of right there. So it's like one of these little lines of rivets on the plating detail. Looks like that is kind of where the bottom of that is. So right there. So what I'm going to do is, I have to take you with me here for the first time. Afterwards I won't worry about it. Is I have to take this down to the flattest spot I know of, and that'll be in the kitchen. There's a great big island counter right there, and see there's a dip right here on my desk. It's very slight, but it dips down by about 1 millimeter, so this line wouldn't be perfectly straight. This would sit nice and straight, but this right here would dip down a little bit. So we'll have to go and film me making the water line downstairs in the kitchen, and with that, we'll go ahead and get to it. Alright, I'm going to kind of try to keep this short. I don't know how much memory I've got on my phone, but here's the general principle of how this works here. See, this goes across the counter nice and smooth. So as long as I've got a good firm hand on here and I don't try to press too hard, and it draws just a nice, lovely water line. I've got a water line here. It's very hard to make out. Maybe there. A little bit more reflectivity. But I think you can see what I'm talking about. So I just have to do this on the reverse side and then mask it off, and I'll be ready to put down the black for a boot stripe. And on my way back into my office with my stuff, encounter a lazy puppy. Say hi, Woody. Alright, back at our desk here. I made a short little video on this. Not really how I constructed it, but just kind of showing how, what it looks like together and everything like that. And frankly, I don't really even have any exact dimensions or anything like that. I guess if anyone was interested, I could measure out the pieces and kind of show how I constructed it. But for the most part, this is kind of part of a monitor stand. So I know it's pretty heavy gauge steel. These are just aluminum parts, and this because it's just very adjustable, and I really like how it works. So that is pretty much that, and it worked very well. It worked like a charm for my water line. Speaking of which, it is now masked off from front to back on the port and the starboard side. So next step for me here, well, I guess something's falling off. Next step for me here is going to actually be spraying some NATO black right on there, and it's going to be you know, high up enough on here that be able to follow up after that dries up and apply some more masking for where the top of that boot line will be. So go ahead and get back to you here after I got the black on there, so you can kind of see what that looks like. And I lied. I did not go with the NATO black. The reason behind that is because the navy blue that's going to be in the camouflage pattern up here, it would be darker than the NATO black. And you know, if it's going to be black, it should be the darkest thing on the ship versus, you know, the second darkest thing on the ship. So went ahead and went with a X18 semi-gloss black from Tamiya, and it goes on real nice, real smooth. I already had some in the jar that was thinned out to the perfect spraying ratio, so got that laid down. And anytime I go up against a masked edge like that, I start with a very super light coat. It almost like it's like a dusting, and I'll keep going over that very, very, very light coat until I can actually feel confident that when I you know, get a wet coat down, it's not going to seep underneath the masking. So I'm not pulling off the masking at this time to have a look at the edge. That'll be the last thing done after everything is painted. So probably we'll see that at the very end of this video. But the next step is going to be letting this dry for a day, putting on the next line using my waterline marker to denote the top edge of the bootstrap. And once I get the top edge of the bootstrap, we'll get that masked off and then start putting down that dark gray and that navy blue. So be back in just a second here when we've got that all masked up and ready to go. Okay, so went ahead and got the bootstrap all masked off. So there will be that semi-gloss black underneath here when we unmask everything. But my next step here is going to be actually putting down a little bit of this light sea gray XF25 on the insides of these splinter shields right here. And I just kind of got that from looking at the color chart here. Try to get that off the glare there. You can see there's a very, when this focuses in, there's a very thin blue line right there, or that light sea gray. All right, there you can see that light sea gray right there, right on the very top, which would give me the impression that the insides of these splinter shields are going to be the light sea gray. So I'm going to go ahead and get that put down. And I'm not going to show any more filming of airbrushing, because just from here on out, it's just going to be colors going down. Nothing special about the post-shading, pre-shading, anything like that. It's just going to be putting down some colors and coming back to review what it looks like. Okay, so we got down the XF25 light sea gray from Tamiya, just on the insides of these splinter shields here. You can see the shade is slightly different than the Mr. Finishing Surfacer gray on there. So that's what that looks like right now. Understand that it probably doesn't show up real well with this blue background, but it's better than the white towel. So the next step here is, after this dries, I'm going to mask off the inside of these splinter shields, and then we're going to proceed with putting down the XF24 dark gray from Tamiya, and that'll go down on the deck, and it'll go on top of the sides right here. And then one other thing I'm going to point out here is, because also I'm going to be putting these down here, so when I do the navy blue, I can make sure the camouflage goes up onto it as it shows in the color chart. I'm also going to be spraying some dark gray on these pieces here, because they get a little bit of the squiggly dark gray on the edges there, both of these for the port and starboard side. So that'll be my next step here, and we'll come back here after we get this all masked off and get the dark gray down. See you in a minute. Alright, so what I'm pointing out here is, between my two thumbs is the splinter shield for the two 20mm Oerlikons that are going to go on the deck here, and we start getting the ship fitted out. As you can see, it's got that light sea gray color mostly, but the dark blue camouflage swoops up onto it from the hull. But if you look around toward each end of it, you'll see there's also that dark gray. So that is where I've gone with this and interpreting how to paint those. Started off with dark gray on these right here. Alright, I did that for both of them, and then went ahead and got the dark gray applied to the sides of the hull and the deck. And it's starting to take on a color of a World War II destroyer. So next step now is going to be to mask off the dark gray where I don't want the navy blue paint to hit it when I start doing the squiggly camouflage all over the place. So when we'll come back here, it's going to be all masked off, and I'm going to have the navy blue down, and then we will kind of do an unmasking and a reveal on that. So be back here in just a sec. Okay, so with the dark gray on, my next step there was masking off the camouflage pattern. I also took these splinter shields back here and sprayed them in the light sea gray XF25 Tamiya, and got them masked off and temporarily joined to the hull with a little bit of the Vallejo masking fluid. And I shored up a lot of the masking here with that same masking fluid. One, also just to kind of tighten up the lines a little bit, and two, just to make sure that I'm not getting paint to seep underneath where that masking tape is, because there's actual relief here on the sides of the hull, and sometimes masking tape doesn't go down over that properly, so I just really wanted to avoid having any paint seep underneath that. So once that was all done, then I sprayed the XF17 Sea Blue by Tamiya. So I just have to wait for this to dry, and then I'm going to go ahead and proceed with unmasking so I can show you all what it looks like and see if I had any boo-boos or errors or anything like that I'm going to have to clean up. So be back in a sec. Okay, well, unmasking was a little bit tedious, but I would say for the most part this was a win. Everything looks as it should. Now, it's not perfect to record, or as far as even the painting guide provided by Trumpeter, but I am really pleased with how well that turned out. I don't have any runs or anything like that on the boot line. There's still a little bit of touch-up here and there, mainly around some of these camo lines. Some of this shouldn't be kind of like jaggedy like that, a little bit smoother. And that's something I can go back and touch up with, you know, just kind of here and there, a little bit of spots. But for the most part, I am just over the moon about how that turned out. Again, no runs or anything serious or weird or anything like that. So very, very happy. My next steps are going to be to hit all those little touch-up areas. And then after that, clear coat this top, lay down the details, and get ready to start fitting it out. So this is really, really, really exciting. Oh, see, there's a little masking booger from the masking fluid. Probably going to run into a couple of those as I go, but that's neither here nor there. Wow, that is fantastic. So let me know what you think in the comments below. If you got any tips or suggestions or anything I could do better, or you even spot a mistake that I've made that I did not see, please let me know, and I will respond. But like I said, next time, decaling, a little clear coat decaling, and make sure I get any of these touch-ups or anything like that done. And that's that for this video. So I hope you enjoyed watching. And until next time, stay safe, happy modeling.